Here it comes. Here it comes. I've always been jealous. Hello, everybody. Welcome today. Is that a echo system here? A few notes as we get started with the reverb. Congratulations to Donna Lynch, who's been promoted to Vice President at Trust Company Virginia. Way to go, Donna. On Monday at the board meeting, we approved 4 new members. With no resignations, that puts our club at 151. Of course, we remain number 1 in the district, and we're second in line of growth with 6 new members so far this year. Thank you all. Also, on a sadder note, our condolences and prayers go out to Stephanie Moon Reynolds and her family at the loss of her niece yesterday. I don't know the details. We don't know any more about that. She was a young person, 14 years old. Also, there'll be a card going around today for Bill Logan, whose health is failing, just not good. So just to express our prayers and wishes to him and his family. The call for introspection today is JC. Our song leader is Judy Clark. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be Alex Barge. JC.
Good afternoon to all of you. Our introspection. One example I saw in the dictionary is about soul searching. Consideration of one's motives and course of action. Thinking before you act. Several years ago, a young friend of mine thought he could have more fun running with us young guys, and his wife was getting in the way. So without thinking about it, he put her aside with her 2 children, and a few months later, when he got his paycheck, it was little or nothing because the judge took care of the wife. Well, he said, I'm going down to see the judge, and I'm going to show him my check and see if he'll have mercy on me. And he did. He went back to the judge and took his paycheck. The judge didn't look at his check. The judge gave him 2 words: tighten your belt. Next case. So, and I was, I never learned to gamble. I tried it. In fact, there was a time years back, I sat down for a group of guys at a game of cards. And I was trying to play big shot, act like I was one of the boys. And of course, I was losing big time. Then the lady came behind me, she said, sir, you had the hand. You just didn't have sense enough to call it. So then I'm taking that in consideration and things that we all do sometime without knowing and not thinking about what we were doing. I thought about something that is good for all of us. Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold. You got to know when to fold. You got to know when to walk away, know when to run. He never counts your money at the table. There's time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
Good afternoon. We're going to do something a little different today. The musicians are into creativity. Does everybody have a song slip? If not, I've got plenty more. Okay, right. get this and you think, I never saw that in my life. Okay, I can sing that. Well, read down a little bit and you will come on, let's say, the fifth line to a song I'm pretty sure you know. We shall overcome, we shall overcome. See, in February, which is Black History Month, this is like the civil rights anthem. Okay, now I'm gonna sing the first part of it, and it's really easy. And you're gonna learn it with me. And then we sing, we shall overcome. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. Keep praying. It goes like this. Try that much. It's well, that was very good. Now, here's the answer tense. I want to see if you guys have them. I'm gonna slip right here. This half of the room is going to sing, "We shall overcome." This half. Get the second time to thank be to God wherever ever you go into, we shall overcome. I know you think there's no way this can work. I promise you. That's just how great you are.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you.
Hello, all right. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic indivisible, liberty.
Thank you, Alan. Harry Zuloff will be introducing our guest today. Harry.
Good afternoon. We have a couple guests this afternoon, and they seem to be Joe Gaither groupies, I guess. I'd like Johnny Stone, a retired pastor, to stand up. Dave Russo, a Joe Gaither groupie, I guess is his. And Joe is sponsoring both of them. Maybe Ken is. Okay, you're standing up. So anyway, I want to welcome those guys to the club this afternoon. And soon, right after me, Matt Reynolds, another guest, will be introduced by Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you all know, one of the great things we get to do with our grant presentations. Today, we have a grant presentation by Judge Haberman for the Temple Emmanuel Wesleyan, sponsored by Sherry Dillon.
And thanks, Ben. Sherry, would you come forward and would you tell us a little bit about this organization? And then Matt, I'll have you explain a little bit about what you're going to do with the grant.
Good afternoon, I'm Sherry Dillon, and it's my honor today to sponsor my grant recipient, Emmanuel Wesleyan Church, where I attend. Matt Reynolds is our pastor. I've known Pastor Matt for years. He grew up with my kids. His pastor was our pastor as my kids were growing up. He and his wife I am very good friends with them. So it's my honor to introduce Pastor Matt.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Kiwanis Club, for inviting me here today, allowing me to be part of this meeting and for blessing our church with the grant. Thank you so much to all of you guys for being willing to do that. We're going to use the money. For 15 years, about 15 years, our church has been involved in the snack pack program. And it began with our church and several other churches going in together to help Preston Park Elementary School. Preston Park is just about a mile from our church. And over the years, the other churches have dropped. And so for the last several years, we've been doing that ourselves. And so we're going to use the grant money to go toward the snack packs, which provide meals to children that receive free reduced breakfast and lunch. A lot of them go home for the weekend and will have very little or maybe nothing to eat. So while we're not able to provide a lot for every child, we do have 120 bags every single week. And we take them over to Preston Park, and then on Friday, they send them with them for the weekend. And so we are going to use that money to continue to fund that program. It costs us, we budget about $7,000 a year for that. And with the prices of things nowadays, you guys go to the store and you know what they're like. It's going to cost us even more than that, probably closer to $9,000 this year to be able to do that. So we're going to take the $3,000 grant money for the Kiwanis Club and we're going to put it toward that. And we're also going to add on each bag, there's a sticker that just says "Packed with Love" by, and then they sign their name. So if I signed it, I would sign "Packed with Love" by Pastor Matt or whoever would sign it. And our church logo is on there, and we're going to add the Kiwanis Club logo on those stickers this year because you guys have so graciously agreed to help provide funding for this program. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And just, good job. Thank you.
Our club is growing. Don Wilson will be, and what's the correct word? Inducting? Is that right? A new member. Thank you.
Manly Ayler used to call it inducing.
Inducing?
One of the kindest acts we could do as Kiwanians is to invite a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, or stranger on the street to join you for lunch, and then even better to join our club. We call that sharing the K. Today we're indebted to Rupert Cutler, who's sponsoring Bert Boyd, and Bert's going to be introduced by Bill Bestpitch, and Nancy Horton's returning to us after about 5-year hiatus, I guess, and she's being sponsored by Steve McGraw. Steve, will you introduce Nancy, please, for those that don't know her?
Brought Nancy Horn into this club about 23 years ago. She stayed for a good 7 or 8 years. She was one of our best paid at auction people ever. Nancy's going to retire as commissioner of revenue sometime later this year, and at least by the end of the year, she promises me. And I told her she needed something positive to do. This is a place she knows where positive happens all the time. Nancy's been commissioner of revenue for the past 21 years, and she's worked in that office for the past 31 years. And at the appropriate time, please help me welcome Nancy back to the club.
Nothing.
Steve.
Colbert Longworth Burt Ford has been a resident of Roanoke for 30 years and currently lives on Round Top Road. He attended Deep Creek High School in Chesapeake, Virginia, and has a BS degree in business administration from Norfolk State University. He retired as deputy director of the Virginia Department of Veterans Services. Burt is married to Patricia Whiteboy, a member of Roanoke City Council. He's the father of 5 daughters and has 20 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. I think you give me more credit than you deserve. Like Stephen Brower here and J.C. Taylor, Burt enjoys riding his motorcycle. He rides with the National Association of Buffalo Soldiers and Troopers Motorcycle Club Roanoke chapter. They support local charities, provide scholarships, and share the history of the 9th and 10th Black Horse Cavalry. He's already active in community service. He's president of the Greater Grandview Neighborhood Association. And as an avid gardener, he manages 4 large flower beds in Huff Lane Park. Sherry Hartman will be pleased to hear this with our nature garden in mind. Burt's connection with young people stems from growing up in a family of 11 children. He's been a Sunday school teacher and volunteered as a teacher's assistant for 3 years at Round Hill Elementary School pre-pandemic. Burt has identified our environmental and career and technical education awards committees as his initial choices of club committees to join. Rupert Cutler nominated Burt Ford for membership in our Kiwanis Club in Roanoke, and he asked me to help orient him to our programs and activities. Burt impressed me by learning as much as he could about Kiwanis and attending a few meetings before submitting his application. Once he did that, I think he's been with us every week, so he knows what he's getting himself into, and he's ready to put on those Kiwanis gloves that Don Wilson is going to give him in a few minutes. Get to work.
Nancy and Burt, we're glad to have you as our newest members of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke, and we're looking forward to working with you on the service projects. And Burt, I know you have been here for a couple of months, and I think when I gave you this badge, you got permission to approve it. You've almost heard it. But before I do that, I'm going to give each of you a pair of work gloves. And these gloves are going to come in handy with our environment projects, and street cleanups, maybe KPAD. But when you put the gloves on, I want you to think about, when you put the little finger in the glove, I want you to think about the big things this club does with the less fortunate in our communities. With the ring finger, the circle of friends that you're going to make and meet in the Kiwanis Club through our projects and our meetings. Your middle finger stands above the others on your hand. This club stands out in Capital District, the largest club in the Capital District. We're proud of that. We're #1 in the Capital District. And when we finish a third project, we give a thumbs up and we congratulate each other for the job that's well done. So I also have some other things for you. Nancy, here's your new member packet. It has your permanent member badge.
Thank you.
That's the one that Bert's going to strive for. It also has the club directory in there, and some information about our 501c3 foundation that we hope you'll support because it supports the Kiwanis Club service projects. Let's everyone in the room please stand and put your hands together and welcome Roy.
Bert, congratulations. Thank you.
Had my speech already. Welcome.
And since we're on a roll with permanent badges, Alex, if you would come forward. Alex has now met the requirements for his permanent badge. He's also an editor of our newsletter. Well, it's time for Milton Hardy.
Thanks for the warning.
Again, against my better judgment. Milton Hardy.
Yes, it is. Good afternoon, friends and Preston Top. So today, I want to talk to you about one more individual that could have been a great Kiwanian. He was born in October 6, 1955. Means he was younger than my daddy. He's an American former football safety and Hall of Fame coach who served as a head coach in the National Football League for 13 seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Indianapolis Colts. I bet y'all know who this is already. You do? You already know who this is?
Yeah.
Don't tell nobody.
I think I know.
His teams became perennial postseason contenders under his leadership, missing the playoffs only twice with Tampa Bay. He led the Colts to victory in Super Bowl. Yeah, that's Super Bowl number. I forgot how to do my Roman numerals, so you're gonna have to forgive me for that. But in a Super Bowl over the Chicago Bears, making him the first African-American head coach to win the Super Bowl. The most important thing I can bring out of this is, yes, he played for the Steelers from 1977 to 1978, and briefly on the practice squad for the New York Giants in 1980. But in 1979, he was a San Francisco 49er. That's important. I don't care whatever else you got, that's important. Who am I talking about? Tony Dungy. Now, wasn't he not even a great Kiwani? I want to make one more correction today because somebody told me, and he's the past winner of one of those prestigious trophies that we have with my face on it. And he told me to tell Coach Joe, that was not your guess that they announced. So let the record state that Johnny Stone, The Rock, that's your new nickname is The Rock. He is Ken Briggs, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Milton. Just a few announcements for today. On your tables, you'll find this sheet. This is to sign up for the Jersey Boys, which is taking place on March 16th. Again, there'll be a reception outside the Harrison Museum on the second floor of the Center and Square building. It's $48 per ticket. Signups are, what's that? Mill Mountain Theater. We knew that part later. Signups are on your table. Membership surveys are in, they're being tabulated, and we have formed a small committee to look at the results, and we'll be reporting back shortly. The May Fun Day Committee is Zooming tomorrow at 8 a.m. The Membership Committee Zooms Friday at 8 a.m. And the Environment Committee Zooms Monday at 12:30 a.m. now, or 12:30 p.m. All of these meetings are listed on the calendar, and the calendar is located at the website along with the Zoom link. So that if you're interested in participating in these committees, and I hope you are, the information is there. Just point and click and you're in the meeting. Also, the nominating committee will have a brief gathering after today's meeting. And with that, we have about 4 minutes for brag bucks. And I know Jackie wanted to brag, and she's wearing her shades. And I don't think this is in celebration of Milton Hardy. So.
No, under here is not
But
pretty.
it
That's
could
why I have them on.
What's the board?
I got it. Thank you. Yeah. Good job. Good afternoon. Excuse the glasses, but it's not pretty under here, so you'd rather look at this than this eye. But anyway, I have a couple of brags. First, I'd like to brag, and I'm always bragging on my grandchildren. And I think Bert talked to me. I've got 16 grandchildren. You've got 20? Oh my gosh, I got some catching up to do. No, I don't have any catching up to do. The kid does. So anyway, first brag is on my grandson. He just got back from Las Vegas at their international convention of Lowe's store managers. Brandon has been a store manager for about, I think, 14 years. And his store last year did $22 million in sales. And there's 113 stores in his region. And the regional vice president picked Brandon out of 113 stores for the leadership award. Proud of him. Yeah. And then the second bracket is on my nephew. And my nephew got his master's degree in music composition from the University of Louisville some years ago. Not that many, about 5 years ago. And he is now the music director of First Presbyterian Church in Huntington, West Virginia. He grew up in that church. He was born, he was baptized there. My whole family, my mother, everyone. Church is 180 years old. So it's quite an honor for him, as young as he is, to be the music director. So bragging on both of them. Thank you.
Clark?
Well, you guys kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but well, thank you. Yeah, birthday yesterday, big 48. That's not my brag, but just want to say, Milton Hardy's I want to brag on two great Kiwanis. First of all, Milton Hardy's done an excellent job being our membership committee spokesperson. And y'all know when the shades come out, y'all look out because it's coming. But I'm bragging on Jackie Bledsoe because she's worn the shades all day. So thank you all. That was my brag.
Everybody, Mike McAvoy, and anybody know what March 2nd is? It is Read Across America Day. Before COVID, we used to support a lot of schools. We bring Kiwanis into the schools and do reading. The schools haven't really been requesting that. They're still trying to, I think, figure out their way through having visitors and everything. But I think y'all know my wife is a teacher at Preston Park Elementary, and I was glad to see the Reverend here supporting the program there at Preston Park. Their school would like to have some readers on March 2nd. So if you're available on March 2nd, that's a Thursday, Read Across America Day, Dr. Seuss's birthday, let me know. And I'm trying to find 5 or 6 people that would like to go to the school and read to the kids there. Thank you.
I'll sign up for that. That's always a lot of fun going and reading to these kids. It's a real hoot. They take great pride and joy in that. Today's program is being introduced by Steve McGraw, although Coach Gaither doesn't really need much introduction.
Thank you, President. Ben, as a matter of fact, I was going to say the man who needs no introduction, but I thought I knew Joe Gaither pretty well after reading the book and spending a couple of years working with him on various projects here with the Kiwanis Club. And then I found out that through the Bridges program, there was going to be a home for 10 individuals in Morristown, Tennessee. The name of this home for out-of-country athletes is the William Joseph Gaither House.
Wow.
Joe would never tell you this because he is truly an humble man, just like Milton and J.C. Taylor and me. You know, we're all very humble people. But this is phenomenal. Joe is just an amazing individual. And Milton, by the way, I brought in 2 new members in the last 2 months, so don't let the old guy beat you. No further introduction needed for Coach Joe Gaither. Thank you.
President Ben and Kiwanis, it's truly humble and honored to stand before you here today. And I think I was set up coming behind Dr. Hale and Dr. Harmon. And I had to ask the Lord, what can I share with the Kiwanians that could really make a difference? And thinking about Black History Month, the Lord shared with me, share with you the significance of the Black coach, the significance of the Black coach. Today, I want to salute the great Black coaches that have paved the way for other coaches. The pioneer Black coaches like Coach Eddie Robinson, head coach of Grambling State University for 51 years, retired in 1977. Over 200 of his players went on to play in the NFL. His record was 408, 165 and 15. And he won 9 Black college football championships. He passed away in April the 3rd of 2007. The Eddie G. Robinson Museum on the campus of Grambling State University epitomizes his dedication, his perseverance, and legacy of this great man who shaped the lives of many Black student athletes. Then there's the great Clarence Big House Gaines. 1946, Coach Gaines became the head football and basketball coach, athletic director, trainer, and ticket manager for Winston-Salem State College. Coach Gaines led the Winston-Salem State University as coach and athletic director for 47 years. In 1967, he won the Division II National Basketball Championship and first historically Black college to win a national championship. He was named Division II NCAA Coach of the Year in 1967, and in 1982 was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. He produced the first Black player to be drafted into the NBA as the #1 pick, Leo Hill, and one of the most prolific players in college basketball, Earl the Pearl Monroe. Averaged 40 points per game and was drafted by the New York Knicks, became an NBA All-Star. Coach Gaines amassed a record of 828, 446 losses, making him the 6th winningest coach in NCAA history behind Mike Krzyzewski, Bobby Knight, Dean Smith, Adolph Rupp, and Jim Phelan. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Coach John Thompson, who won the NCAA National Championship at Georgetown in 1984. There were 4 other Black coaches that won, 3 others that won NCAA titles. Nolan Richardson, Arkansas, 1994. Tubby Smith at Kentucky, 1998. Kevin Ollie, University of Connecticut, 2014. I had the pleasure to meet Coach Thompson and, matter of fact, all of them, Nolan Richardson, Tubby Smith, and Kevin Ollie in my years of coaching AAU basketball, and being in the arenas with these great coaches and being able to expose our athletes to these opportunities. I count that a great honor.
When asked how it felt to be the Black coach to win a national championship, Coach Thompson said, his comment was, "It's only because those who were far better than I were never given the opportunity." Stinging words, but still true today because of the 353 NCAA Division I basketball programs, only 103 have Black head coaches. When 50% of the student athletes are Black. And when you take HBUs out of the ratio, the number falls to 24%. Many Black coaches have been passed over by their white peers with less impressive records and results and paid considerably less. I was thinking the other night, I was telling my wife, I was watching Kentucky play and I was watching John Calipari. I had a chance to meet him when I took a team to the national championship. It was at Memphis. He's paid $8 million a year. That will fund most of the whole budgets for most of the HBCU programs. $8 million a year. Ironically, he's only won one national championship with the best talent every year. Something is wrong. Not only were Coach Thompson's unapologetic about his predominantly Black teams, but it was a champion for social change in America. Black America took ownership of the Hoya brand and appealed greatly to local Black fans, particularly among Black men who felt labeled, disrespected, and disregarded. Thompson was one of the few coaches to offer Allen Iverson, the #1 draft pick, a scholarship after he served jail time for a brawl. Coach Thompson's legacy is truly significant to every Black coach in America. And as I was going through this list, there's some numbers that jumped out at me that I wanted to share. There are approximately 260 FBS and FBS football teams. Only 15 have Black coaches. When we talk about NFL teams, I think we all know there are 57.2 of the players are Black. There's only 5 Black coaches. I had the opportunity to speak to one of the 5 Black coaches in America that coaches NCAA baseball, brother, Mr. Pollock, Coach Pollock. And one of the threads that I recognized in all of these coaches were they were men of faith. Everyone I spoke to was men of faith. But today I want to take the time to personally recognize the significance of my high school coach, Roland H. Malone. Can you give me that first screen, please? That is Coach Roland H. Malone. I get a little emotional when I think about him. He was a World War II veteran, graduated from Ohio State in 1954. He began coaching the football and basketball teams and taught physical education at G.W. Carver in Salem. With no activity buses, and he and the assistant had to transport teams to the games, clean the floors, wash the uniforms, try to solicit donations. But the one thing about this great man, he was the epitome of everything he taught. And as I think back about him, he always teased me, and he would call me Jake. And it was an inside joke. Jake Gaither, the great coach at Florida A&M, coached for 25 years there. And he had produced 36 All-Americans, 42 played in the NFL. And he has a cultural center at Tennessee A&M University. And when I thought about Coach Malone, today I wanted to honor him. Coach Malone was a tremendous coach and mentor. He always emphasized the value of education and received his master's from Radford University in 1973. He coached at Carver, and I tell you, he was a tough coach. And he coached tough love. He taught tough love. He was the kind of coach that told you, okay, we got a game tomorrow. Curfew at your house is 10. And he would ride by your house and check too. And your mama better let him in. That's the kind of coach he was. He taught us the values listed in Coach John Woo's pyramid. And he shared this with me. Success, he said, it's built on industriousness, hard work, loyalty, enthusiasm, self-control, initiative, intentness, sincerity, ambition, honesty, teamwork, conditioning, reliability, and confidence. And at the top of that pyramid, the most important attributes for every player he taught: faith, integrity, and character. And he always told us, your talent may get you there, but your integrity will keep you there. I never forgot that. For a young teen growing up without a father, I needed to see those qualities lived out in a role model, and that was Coach Rhoda Malone. You know, he often shared with me, he said, you have leadership ability, people will follow you. He saw something in me I didn't see in my own self. In my junior year at Carver, can I get to the next one? Get to go to the next one.
Somebody up here knows what he's doing.
GW Carver was a school grade 1 through 12, K through 12 in Salem, and everybody that lived in the county outside of Roanoke had to attend GW Carver. It is now an elementary school. But when I think about our days at Carver, and my junior year there, I was elected junior class president and SVA president there at Carver in a class of about 66. And the next year when the school was integrated, I had to go to Andrew Lewis as a class of 444. This is our team. We were 22-1. During this time, the white schools didn't play us, so we had to travel Christiansburg, Danville, Martinsville, Bedford. We had to travel all over the valley. Well, not this valley, but we had to travel in sometimes 50, 75 miles radius to play games. The only team we could, this was after the state championship against Booker T of Suffolk. Never forget them. We played 2 straight years against this team. We couldn't beat these guys. We could beat everybody else, but Booker T of Suffolk was the real deal. They were really good. You know, and I've always treasured the pride I felt in wearing that Carver uniform under the lead of this great coach and mentor. And I was fortunate to play on these teams. And everybody, there were 4 seniors on the team, and the rest of us, that's Coach Malone on the left. The man on the right is Marilyn Harmon's father, the principal of the school, Mr. Harmon. And we had a great respect for him. Coach Malone emphasized respect for elders, teachers. There was no talking back. Everything was yes, sir, no, sir. There was no yeah, no, none of that stuff. He didn't accept it. You couldn't be late. You couldn't be 5 minutes late for practice. If you was 5 minutes late, you tell you're going back home. When you come back the next day, it was an automatic 100 push-ups, 50 suicides. So you wouldn't, and I didn't understand he was teaching us life virtues about being on time. Okay, so there was a lot of life lessons that he was teaching us. You know, Coach Malone never won a state championship, but he won the hearts of every player that played for him. And that's the significance I'm speaking of to see today. You see, every coach that is successful may not be significant in the sight of God, but every coach that is significant in God's eyes is successful to the glory of God. And you know, as I've grown over the years, I've come to understand success may be written on rings, plaques, banners, maybe buildings, but significance is written on the hearts of the young people that you teach and that you mentor to. And I'm sitting there looking at one back there now, Milton Hardy, one of our players over the years. And I can remember that team that football team he played on, 6 ministers came off of that team. And I can remember at the end of practice, we started practice with prayer, and at the end, every kid raised their hand, can I be the preacher today? They wanted to lead the prayers. Everybody wanted to lead the prayer at the end of a practice. And I can tell you for sure, every practice was a whole lot harder than games. And we intentionally made it that way. We challenged them that way to be better than what they thought they could. Because we had to make our young people understand that their reach had to exceed their grasp, and their will always had to be greater than their skill. We taught that, we emphasized it every day. If you lived a life before, this was so important. If you lived this life before your players that honors God and witnesses your faith and encourage them for a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, your coaching is significant and will transform lives to come. I'm a result of his guidance, his hard work, and every player I've been blessed to coach, we try to pass those same messages on. Can I get the next slide? That's a picture of Coach Malone, James Hooley Childress. I think he may have been the leading scorer at Williamsburg, and myself on the right. As I think about this, Coach Malone had told me that year that I would be the B'nai B'rith nominee from Carver the next year. But as I said, we went from a school of a graduating class of 66 to a class of 444. So I wasn't even in the running at Andrew Lewis. But I did make the basketball team. And I was amazed. The coach brought me shoes to the school before we even left Carver. I was amazed. They had team shoes. We never had no team shoes at Carver. My goodness, they got team shoes. They got pre-game meals. I mean, Coach Malone, he took money out of his pocket for pre-game. We didn't know nothing about pre-game meals and team shoes. And I mean, this was a new world for me. But I was just amazed at how different there was in those days. And I'm definitely not going to run over. Can I get the next screen? This is a great picture of Coach Malone. He was a tremendous dresser. He was always sharp. That's a picture of him coaching at Williamsburg. And, you know, I always thought of Coach Malone in pregame talks. And this past Monday, I had the opportunity to be at Lakeway Christian Church in White Pines, Tennessee. I've been doing some commuting back and forth there. I thought the Lord wanted me to put my whistle down, but I've been commuting back and forth with Curtis Staples. He is the head coach there at Lakeway Christian Academy, a great Christian school, a lot of great people. And I was in his locker room and I was listening to his pregame talk. And I almost wish I could have filmed it. It sounded like my words coming out of his mouth. It's like, my goodness, he remembers everything. He never forgot. And I think sometimes I hear my words, I used to hear his words coming out of my mouth. That's the impact that he had on our lives. We remembered everything, and whatever Coach Malone said was gospel. And the parents trusted him with us in any situation. So we had no need to go home and say, well, Coach did this, or Coach, man, they didn't want to hear it. If Coach Malone said it, you did it, that settles it, it's over with. Don't even give me all excuses, let's make the adjustment. He didn't believe in excuses, he believed in adjustments and doing what needed to be done to get the task done. You know, and if there's ever one message I could leave with our players, it's come from Colossians 3:24. And 2 Sundays ago, I had the honor to speak at Central Baptist Church. And the pastor there asked me to come in. He invited youth coaches and some AAU coaches. And I was humbled to be a part of that service. What I shared with them was from the book of Colossians 3:23 and 24, which reads, and whatever you do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord. And I hope that I drove that message home, because I see with social media and everything we deal with, today's athletes. It's all about me, myself, and I, not about the team. We have to drive that message home. It's team first. It's always the team first. When the team is first, then you're playing for something bigger than yourselves. But if it's all about you, that's a problem, because that means you want to be the hero of the story. And if you're the hero of your story, it's a bad story. God has to get the glory for your story. If he don't get the glory, it's a bad story, I can promise you. You know, I heard a message this morning that it really blessed my heart. It said, one day your life will flash before your eyes. Make sure it's worth watching. I never thought about that until this morning. It said, make sure it's well watching. You know, and it stayed in my mind. You know, Coach Malone taught and modeled Christ before us. And I wanted to share in 1979, he went to Liberty and earned a master's degree in evangelism and church planting. So Coach never, ever stopped growing and learning. And also, he became a pastor, associate pastor at Goodview Church of God in Bedford. This man never, ever stopped growing. Never, ever stopped, even up to his final years. Can we get the next screen? That's a picture of Coach there at his church in Goodview. He was associate minister there. And I can tell you, those virtues that he taught, we are part of his coaching tree. On Monday, Curtis Staples told me, he said, and he introduced me to some people in Tennessee. He said, this is Coach Joe. I'm a part of his coaching tree. I never had thought of it as a coaching tree. And then I went home and I told my wife, I started thinking about it. Russell Turner, coach at UC Cal Irvine, one of our former players, part of my tree. Mark Byington, James Madison University coach, part of my coaching tree. Jason Niblett, Carlisle School in Martinsville, part of my coaching tree. Curtis Staples, Lakeway Christian, part of my coaching tree. The two head basketball coaches for the girls program in Roanoke, Richard Wilson and William Fleming, Eugene Cook, Patrick Henry. Both of them played for me for several years, part of my coaching tree. And I'm amazed when I go and watch them coach. I try to sit back so they don't see me. I want to watch their demeanor. I want to watch how they handle themselves. And it's amazing, their mannerisms, the things they say, the way, and I was humbled that they asked me to come to speak to their teams this year in the preseason. And I tried to share a message of significance to them. And I'm just always humbled by how these young men have grown. And the messages that we put out there, they took them and ran with them. And it makes my heart feel good that even when I do put that whistle down, we still have trees out there that's still growing. And you know, saints, that's what this thing is all about, planting seeds. Planting seeds to continue to grow in this community in whatever area of influence you have. Every one of us in here has an area of influence. Are you still planting those seeds? And with the Kiwanis, there's an over-rounding yes. I see the significance of this program every time I go to the Centennial Playground and I see the kids out there smiling and laughing. When I see that nature park that's going to be built, when I see the West End Center kids come in here and what you're doing to change lives, that's significance. That's what's going to last. That's what they're going to remember over the years to come. So I salute the Kiwanis today on those significant achievements that you performed in this Roanoke Valley. And today, I really want to highlight my coach because I felt like, to me, I couldn't salute a greater man. Getting close, last screen. This is our first state championship at Roanoke Catholic. when we beat the middle school after the game, first thing we did was go to our knees in prayer. We started it that way. We ended it that way. And you know, when I went to Roanoke Catholic, I shared with Steve, I got a call from two people, Steve Bowery and Dick Wall. They asked me, was I interested in the job? I had two offers at that time, to go to Salem or to go to Roanoke Catholic. And Dick Wall shared with me, Joe, there's some barriers that need to be broken. There's some attitudes that need to change. Some things need to change there. I can't do it, but I believe you can. That's what enticed me to take the job, to try to go there to make change. You know, when I was sharing with Steve, one of the first things I did when I went there, it was a tough situation because the teachers had kind of alienated the boys' basketball program. So my first thing I did, I had to, you'll appreciate this, Brother Breed, I had to build some bridges with the teachers. I had a teacher appreciation breakfast. And then I made the basketball guys, all of them go to the football games and let the football people know we was on board. And all of a sudden, attitudes change. Maybe this guy, this ain't about basketball. Maybe he is about student first. And I knew I had really won them over when we had invited to attend a really prestigious tournament in Tennessee. And this was the same week that they had to take tests. I had two choices. Either my three best players had to stay and take their tests, or trust Coach Joe to give the test on the road. Guess what happened? They trusted me to give the test on the road.
Did they pass?
They passed the test. And I didn't doctor the scores either. But I want you to know it was all about building bridges. So in my time there, we were blessed to win 3 state championships. As you see there, we're in prayer, and we stayed that way consistently. It was a constant there. They understood everything we did was about prayer. And we stayed there for 7 years, and God said, I'm moving you again. And we went to Virginia Episcopal, and we did the same thing. The first year there, we won the state championship there, and the same things happened. So many stories I could tell you, but for the sake of time, I'm not gonna run over. I'm gonna get this thing out of the way like I'm supposed to. But I wanna share, you know, Proverbs 18 and 16 says, a man's gift will make room for them and bring them before great men. And I'm a witness to that. In the last 5 to 6 months, God has done so many great things in my life. There's no way I could tell you everything that's transpired. But my wife gave me, I don't know if you call it a plaque, but it says an excellent coach is hard to find, difficult to part with, and impossible to forget. And I think about that all the time when I think of Coach Roland Malone. There's not a day that goes past I don't think about him. And I pray that I can be half the man he was, just half, for the impact, the influence that he had on lives at G.W. Carver. And I'm honored to say that I'm a part of his coaching tree. To God be the glory for all he's done. And I thank God for this great man. God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to share with you today.
We are honored to have him among us.
Not everybody gets a pen.
Nominations committee at the table immediately following this meeting. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job, 2 minutes to spare.